Hey, folks, coming up next on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Tuesday, November 13th, 2018. The Florida recount is on as Donald Trump and Governor Rick Scott throw around false charges and ask for the voting to be stopped. Basically, we call those lies. And a pro-Trump PAC takes aim at the black election official appointed by Scott over the election. Also, actually, he's elected a position, but she was appointed by Scott. We'll explain further. Also, in Georgia, a major court decision forces the counting of provisional ballots, delaying the certification, and gives hope to Stacey Abrams' chances for a runoff. Also, with the Democrats taking over the House, there's a big fight for crucial leadership positions. And, of course, several CBC members have announced they plan to run. We'll talk to one of them, Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California. Also, former and probably future Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she unveils a plan to diversify the staff of the U.S. House. And pretty much, folks, even the Democratic side is pretty white and very much male. We'll break that thing down. Also, the family of the black security guard killed by a white cop while doing his job sues the cop in the city he works for. And also, a man who shot at a lost black youngster in Michigan, he is headed to prison for as long as 10 years. And also, another crazy white woman calls the cops, this time in a university classroom. Folks, it's time to bring the funk. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks, Florida has an election law that requires a recount if the reported difference between the candidates is less than 0.05%. That's half a percentage point. That has happened already in 3 races this year. That's the governor's race between Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum, the U.S. Senator race, plus the Ag Commissioner race. Again, in the governor's race, Andrew Gillum is 0.47% behind Ron DeSantis. Now, incumbent Senator Bill Nelson is trailing Governor Rick Scott by about 12,000 votes in that particular race. Now, the recount, of course, is happening, but first of all, Donald Trump and Governor Rick Scott, they are claiming, without any evidence whatsoever, voter fraud. Now, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the Department of State have said that they have received no credible allegations of fraud or criminal activity. So pretty much Donald Trump and Rick Scott are flat out lying. Now, here's the breaking news there in Florida. A Florida judge issued an order extending the deadline for recounts in Palm Beach County on state races in question to November 20th, about 5 days after the original 3 p.m. deadline, which, of course, is Thursday. Now, again, you have Donald Trump, who's calling for the votes to be stopped. But here's the problem with that. By doing so, he's essentially disenfranchising the military voters. Those votes are not due until Friday. But this is the guy who supposedly loves the military. But also what's happening in Florida, a Trump super PAC is reportedly spending $250,000 to attack the black woman in Broward County who is over the elections. Now, let's be clear. She's received lots of criticism from a lot of folks there, including black folks. But many are saying that this attack on her is over the top.
It's happening again. On election night in Florida, 2 candidates are far behind. Then, in the liberal strongholds of Broward and Palm Beach counties, ballots appear to be moved in private vehicles, and nearly 100,000 more ballots mysteriously appear. Elections that were all but over suddenly need a recount. No one should be surprised. Broward County Elections Chief Brenda Snipes has a disturbing history of controversy and scandal, violating the law by destroying ballots, accused of keeping felons, non-citizens, and dead people on the voter rolls, discovering new ballots in close elections, and refusing to be transparent until a judge ordered her to be. Now Hillary Clinton's former lawyer is in Florida, trying to win the election. Legal voters in Florida are outraged, and Brenda Snipes must be removed. When we can't trust our elections, we don't have a democracy. Paid for and authorized by Great America Alliance.
All right, folks, joining us right now from Florida is State Rep Chevron Jones, a Democrat from Broward County. Representative Jones, glad to have you here. Now, there have been other issues in elections there in Broward County. I've talked to people, even with the Gillum campaign, who are not happy with the elections administrator. How is it that these problems continue to happen in Broward County, and your thoughts on that particular ad being run by the Trump Super PAC?
First, Roland, thank you for having me on. Now, I think it's very clear we all are aware of the mistakes that has happened within the administration of the supervisor of election of Dr. Brenda Snipes. But the unsettling part is that my Republican colleagues they tend to forget that she was appointed by a Republican governor, which was that of Jeb Bush. But not only that, I think Dr. Snipes have made it very clear of the mistakes that she's made. She has shared where she is now working through those areas to ensure that the process of every vote being counted is done in a way to each person who has voted, they are able to participate in this process and not be eliminated by anything. But once again, it's making sure that every legal ballot is counted. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle are trying to make this nothing but a political mantra to begin to excite their base to do what they've done all this weekend, in where individuals are out picketing in front of the Fort Lauderdale SOE office, saying obscene things to destroy the character of the supervisor of elections, which entail is not called for. If you want to speak against her leadership, that's one thing. But the ways that their base have come out because they have excited their base by things such as the PAC, which paid for this commercial, it does nothing but add fuel to the fire.
So, again, here's the issue we have here. When you say she was appointed by Governor Rick Scott, that's because
Jeb Bush.
Explain to people, Jeb Bush. Explain to people, though, why? Because wasn't there an issue with the previous head of election administrator in Broward County?
There was a issue with the previous election administrator, which was Miriam Oliphant, and then we got Dr. Snipes. During that time, while Dr. Snipes, who was chosen by the Republicans, they found no issues with her up until now, when it doesn't work in their favor. And this is not me saying that Dr. Snipes have not done anything wrong. Where I am standing on is the fact of now Governor Scott has had 8 years to remove Dr. Snipes if he was so concerned.
But isn't this also just one second?
In his favor, now all of a sudden all hell has broken loose.
I'm trying to understand, Representative Jones. When you say remove, but this is an elected position, correct?
This is an elected position, but the governor has the authority to remove or suspend her from office.
Okay, so where do we stand? First of all, where do we stand right now in terms of the ballots being counted? I was read something earlier where they said 199,000 of the ballots have been recounted, have been counted thus far, and that they should have been done with the additional 30,000 or so by this afternoon. Has that happened?
That has not happened, and Dr. Snipes has made it clear that she probably West Palm Beach has shared that they probably will not reach that deadline. Dr. Snipes said yesterday in a press conference that she will possibly reach that deadline in meeting and counting those ballots.
Now, were those the ballots cast? Where do we stand with provisional ballots, with absentee ballots? Are there any outstanding ballots there in Broward County?
Dr. Snipes has made it very clear that they have counted. They have counted absentee ballots. They have counted the provisional ballots, and what they're doing now, they are counting ballots that are from early voting, and they also have not even received the ballots from overseas. Those ballots have not yet to come in. And so she's walking through the process to ensure that she meet the deadlines that has been set. The governor has put 2 lawsuits against Broward County, which both have been dismissed by judges, and even the judge has told both sides to dismiss your rhetoric and allow the process to take its course. So I believe that that Dr. Snipes is trying her best to move forward. Again, this is not negating the fact that mistakes have been made and things that need to be rectified. But I think the Republicans need to allow Dr. Snipes to do her job and stop interfering with the process if they believe they want.
Well, what I want to know, and they're in Florida, but also the same thing in other states. I want to know, when are these things going to get fixed? What are state officials going to do, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, to fix this?
Right.
Because when I look at what's happening there in Florida, when I look at folks saying they ran out of ballots, when I look at in Georgia having no power cords, when I look at people running out of paper ballots in Texas as well, the problem here is you have people who are trying to vote, and then they're being frustrated, they're being upset, they're being there for several hours, and then they're leaving and walking away. We know there are 40 states in America that allow for time off for people to go vote. And so the issue is, when are state officials, what is going to happen there in Florida when it comes to saying, how do you fix the system? Then we also hearing this whole issue about 30 to 50,000 people who voted for the senator race, not the governor's race. Now we hear about issues when it comes to the ballot. And so the question is it going to be uniformity? And who is actually trying to fix this so you don't have all of this drama?
Yeah. Roland, I can assure you that I'm sure someone will be there will be some type of bill coming forward in the upcoming legislative session to deal with voting. And you're right, this process is not a Democrat or Republican issue. Anytime that we find ourselves going into a situation to where we are interfering with democracy, I think it calls for us to put politics aside and to make sure that we come together to make sure that this happens. I can let it be known now that if nothing is filed, I do have a commitment in filing something to ensure that we do not find ourselves in this type of predicament again, because you lose total faith and trust from the people when it comes to the voting process when they see this type of stuff going on, as you well know.
All right, Representative Jones, sure appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, let's go to Georgia, where Stacey Abrams, she needs more than 20,000 votes to force a December 4th runoff against Brian Kemp. Now, late last night, a federal judge ordered election officials to review thousands of provisional ballots that haven't been counted in Georgia's close election for governor. U.S. District Judge Amy Totenberg's order calls for a hotline for voters to check if their provisional ballots were counted. There may be as many as 27,000 provisional ballots that are outstanding. That could possibly push the election to a runoff. Now, Brian Kemp, of course, he was the Secretary of State, the state official who oversees elections in Georgia. Now, of course, he was forced to resign after a lawsuit was filed demanding that he step out. Now, the current Secretary of State, Robin Crittenden, said she could have certified the election as early as tomorrow, but the court order prevents her from certifying the election before Friday at 5 p.m. to provide time to count the provisional ballots. And we'll certainly be covering both of these states very closely. Joining us right now, Barbara Arnwine. She's the Executive Director of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Nick Raythod, Vice President, AAPI, Progressive Action. What the hell is AAPI?
Asian American.
Thank you very much. Asian American Pacific Islanders. Let's spell that out. Some folks who don't know, they're probably at home going like, what's that? African American people in America? And also D.D. Bass Wilbon, Principal, Bass Public Affairs. Here's the issue that, again, that is bothering me greatly. And also, folks, I'm getting a lot of feedback in my ears. I need y'all to fix that, please. The issue here is this drama in Florida, in Georgia, in Texas, and other states. It pisses people off. Okay? It's not like elections crop up. It's not like we don't know in advance when the elections are taking place. And what I don't understand is why you don't have people who are going through drills, checking machines, having a checklist. Look, my grandmother had a catering business, okay? We often sometimes would cater 3 weddings in one day. I had a damn checklist when I was 12. And it was candelabras, globes, candles, stick 'em, aisle runner. I had a checklist when I was 12. I started when I was 7 years old. You cannot tell me it's this hard to have a checklist to know. You can't tell me that if early voting is taking place and you're seeing massive turnout, somebody goes, you know what? We might need more than usual ballots for election day because we're seeing this kind of different turnoff. This, to me, is insane.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And now that we have this division in the Senate and the House and the Republicans and the Democrats and both parties saying that they want to come together and work together and go across the aisle and make sure that everything is okay and we can come together and do things right, that should be a priority. They know that the elections are coming up, so a priority should be to make sure that every state has operating machines that are operable, that they have enough, they have extra.
But the problem, though, this is not a congressional issue.
It's
because our elections are state issues, and that's the problem.
And the states aren't playing fair. Let's just talk about it. The reality is that right here in the district, in this greater D.C. metro area, Prince George's County, 15 polling places that ran out of ballots that were closed effectively for most of the day on election day. What we are seeing, and something that we have talked about for years, is this disinvestment on the one hand in our elections, and on the other hand, the political control. Because Prince George's County, a predominantly Democratic county, who controls the Board of Elections? Republicans that are appointed by the governor. So this just shows you that we got, all kinds of issues, but we got to fight it at the state level, people. If we don't organize and fight for our elections, don't wait until it's election cycle, but fight right now to make sure that people in Indiana, New York, Georgia, Florida, all over the country where people had problems voting, that they will not encounter those problems in the future. And Congress, do your part on federal elections, because there's a lot you can do.
Listening and watching this play out, it just, the thing that kept going in my head was, is this America? We are supposed to be the shining example of democracy. And everything that's happening right now in America around the voting system is just it's embarrassing. It's an embarrassment. It's not the shining example that we should be. If you look at the states, there is a patchwork across the states of how elections are run. And even within the state, there's a patchwork by county by county. There's no uniformity in Florida on reporting. In Georgia, it's the same thing. If you go to a state like Colorado, there are actually really good examples there. They have same-day voter registration. They have vote by mail. They have those sorts of things. I was watching and reading this article about India. And there was this one guy in a jungle in India, and they bring a voting booth to him. That is what we should be doing. There should be a uniformity, not just a patchwork. There should be a systematic change across the country that is a floor, or that then states can go above, then states can go above. But it's just too all over the place.
We discussed this yesterday, of course, that the Democrats in the House, they plan on moving forward with an automatic voter registration bill, and also a number of different provisions in there when it comes to voting. And again, I think what this is going to do is, Didi, I'll start with you. This is going to put pressure on Republicans, whether or not they're going to oppose a measure to improve voting. I mean, that's going to look kind of crazy when you're trying to deal with that, because even this whole issue in terms of how we even register people, to me, it's nonsense. And I keep hearing all this nonsense about voter fraud, which I'm still waiting for data, because it's still missing in action. And the reality is, it makes no sense when a 92-year-old black woman in Georgia who's been voting in the exact same location since 1968 goes to the polls on Tuesday, November 6th, and they go, oh, you're not on, your name has been removed from the voting list. That, to me, makes no sense whatsoever.
It doesn't make sense. And I think that my sister, she recently got married, and so she had to vote on a provisional ballot because she moved from Virginia to Maryland. And so all the I's had to be dotted and all the T's had to be crossed. And so I think that you were saying there needs to be some consistency and there needs to be a pattern. We need to follow, and there needs to be order on how everything is done. That 92-year-old young woman who was removed, I don't know why she was removed, and to me it doesn't make sense that she was removed. But whatever the process is, we have to follow the process, and needs to be the same across the board for everyone, regardless. And Social Security cards, your signature, your name, everything needs to be in order. And if we continue to do things in order across the board, state by state, then we don't have these issues. We won't have these
And
problems.
Roland is
Real quick
right.
before I go to my next
yeah,
guest, go ahead.
Roland is right. The Republicans need to make a decision here. Are they living in America, or what are they doing? And it is funny to me that there is no controversy around the Russian interference by the Republicans in the election, but they're all up in arms about legitimate votes being counted in Florida and Georgia. And unless and until they make a decision on whose side they're on, we will continue to have these same problems.
All right, folks, Democrats win the House, and of course, new members are going to be sworn in come January, and that's going to be an issue when it comes to who is going to be in the House leadership. Now, of course, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi is doing all she can to make sure she has no challengers. She is trying to knock them out of the box as quickly as she can. No one thus far has announced they're going to run against her, even though several people have announced they're not going to vote for her. The question then becomes, are you going to see Congressional Black Caucus members in top positions? Now, there's never been an African American who's ever been in the Speaker of the House position or the House Majority Leader's position. You have had 2 African Americans who have been in the whip position. You, of course, had Bill Gray, the late congressman from Pennsylvania, who served in that job, and also Jim Clyburn of South Carolina. He has announced he's going to be running for his old position. We are going to see Clyburn here later, I think later this week. And so, and also New York's Hakeem Jeffries and California's Barbara Lee are running for the powerful chair of the Democratic caucus. And joining us right now is Congresswoman Lee. Congresswoman, how you doing?
Thank you. Glad to be with you. I'm doing great.
First and foremost, one of the things that we have heard from so many different people is that they feel as if that the Democratic leadership is far too old. When you look at Nancy Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, Jim Clyburn, you're talking about folks who are 78, 77, 79 years old. I've even heard people say, wait a minute, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, you're 71. And so how do you answer critics who say that the House leadership should be younger?
Well, the way you answer them is, one is, I think everyone you mentioned, including myself, continue to fight to build a bench to make sure that newer members are put in key positions. And we're working like crazy to elect much younger members to the Congressional Black Caucus and to the House body itself. I think this is about, in my case, about ideas, about what I've done in the past, my experience, and also about what I bring to the caucus. First of all, African-American women have never held a seat at the table. There's never been an African-American woman elected as one of the top 5 leaders in the House since the first Congress in 1789. Not one. A bit of history, Shirley Chisholm ran in, I believe it was 1977, against Tom Foley. She got close to 100 votes. They created an appointed position as secretary. And so, we work hard. We play by the rules. African-American women have been the loyal constituents, the loyal voters of the Democratic Party, and we deserve a seat at the table. We're new. We have new ideas. We've never had this position before. And so, we have to really understand that this is about the future. But we have to build upon the experience and the seniority and all of the ideas that many of us bring, while at the same time knowing that we're building that future leadership. And I certainly have been one who has done that throughout my entire political and public career.
Obviously, the Congressional Black Caucus is the largest caucus on the House Democrat side. And so you announced for this position. Hakeem Jeffries of New York has also announced for it as well. And what demands are the CBC making? Because the reality is Democrats, they have depended upon black folks, those votes for a very long time. And so many say CBC should have more than one person in leadership.
Absolutely. Those days are over where you say there should be only one African-American in leadership. The Congressional Black Caucus, which I chaired for 2 years, really understands my platform, that I fight not only for my district, but for all of our constituents throughout the country when it comes to whatever appropriations that we're fighting for, whatever criminal justice legislation we're fighting for. The CBC is the conscience of the Congress, and the CBC is demanding a seat at the table, and the majority of CBC members are supporting me. Once again, as African-American women, and Roland, how we have worked so hard to build this party and how we've been smart about our votes. We've been smart about our policy positions, our organizing, and it's about time that black women have a chance to weigh in on the public policy agenda of this United States.
But let's talk about this here issue. Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi has said that she's Speaker of the House. She is going to implement what is called a Rooney Rule when it comes to filling these House staffer positions. The bottom line is this here. As I said, Democrats have depended significantly on black people and their votes. When you look at these House leadership positions, they are very white, they are very male. We saw earlier this year, we were highly critical of what was happening in the United States Senate, forced Senator Chuck Schumer's hand to create a Rooney Rule on the Senate side as well. Are you going to demand that not only do Democrats have the Rooney Rule, but also that they track every single position and put the information out there as to where people could apply for those jobs? Are you only looking for folks on Capitol Hill? Are you looking for people who are working on state levels? Because to me, it makes no sense in the world to have these staff positions largely by white folks and male. And we know that's where these companies in D.C., these lobbying firms, these PR firms, and these strategists, where they all come from. So the cycle gets repeated over and over and over again. White folks work in these smaller positions. They get hired in senior positions. They go to corporate America. They hire the same white folks, and the thing happens as a wheel.
Roland, not only, and if you've been following what I've been doing since I've been in Congress with the Congressional Black Caucus, I co-chair the Diversity Task Force. Not only am I going to demand, I've been the impetus behind all of this. And the Appropriations Committee, for example, on which I serve, I wrote into the appropriations bill that we had to do this. And so, yes, I'm going to continue to fight to demand this. And also, I've been working on this issue as it relates to racial equity in the tech sector as well as at the DNC. And so when you look at my record, I've been doing this, and I'm going to continue to do this. We're finally beginning to break through, and I'm going to rev this up in a big way. Remember now, also, I was a chief of staff, and there were very few African Americans on Capitol Hill when I was chief of staff to the late my mentor, Congressman Ron Dems. There were very few African American women on Capitol Hill, and I've been fighting this battle for young African Americans to be able to break through into key positions, to be hired, to be promoted on Capitol Hill, and I'm going to continue to do that. That's who I am. That's part of my history.
All right, Congresswoman Barbara Lee. All right, we surely appreciate it, Congresswoman. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
All right, they want to go to my panel here. Again, this is, for the people who are watching right now, they might say, okay, you know what, this is inside politics. No, this is about money. This is about wealth creation.
Everything.
This is about opportunity. And what people have to understand is the people who work in junior positions on Capitol Hill and junior positions in the White House then ascend to senior positions. And then when these firms in D.C. are looking to hire people, that's exactly who they're hiring. They're looking to see who was the head of the committee or the chief policy person on judiciary, on ways and means when it comes to tax policy, when it comes to environment. And all these positions that come out of there, and black folks not only have been locked out on these Capitol Hill positions, we then get locked out of these positions in these major firms. And what happens is they hire somebody and say, okay, your job is now to hire your whole staff. Well, who do they hire? Same white folks.
Exactly.
That's right.
I agree with Congresswoman Lee. Black women, black Democratic women have been extremely loyal to the Democratic Party, and they have not been rewarded, and I think they should be. I think Pelosi and Hillary Clinton are of the past, and I think that the Democratic Party is looking for a fresh, new excitement.
That ain't gonna happen.
Well, I think.
I mean, first of all, it's not. One of the reasons it's not gonna happen because at the end of the day, those who are in leadership, it points to can you raise money? Have you accrued favor and things along those lines?
But black women have been very faithful to the Democratic Party.
I understand that. But my point is, black women are also going to make it possible for her to be the Speaker of the House. Because, again, who votes she's locking up, that. Also, other groups have been out there also urging their folks. Emily's List, AFS-CME. All those folks have been urging those folks to back Pelosi when it comes to these issues. But even if Pelosi becomes Speaker of the House, it still will be putting the pressure to say, no. Y'all going to hire some damn black people for these jobs.
Right. And people need to understand that Barbara Lee has something very special, and that's her vision. Because she's been out there and has voted the right way when nobody else saw it and understood it. So she has a lot going for her when it comes to her leadership qualities. Also, for those of us who actually walk that hill, let me tell you, it matters who's in those positions, in those staff positions. When we are trying to lobby for different kinds of legislation, when we're trying to lobby for different kinds of fact findings, all of these things go to if you're talking to a person of color, and oftentimes you're not. And they don't know who to talk to. They go to and talk to people who know nothing about the black community, So it's ridiculous. And the same is true of the Asian and the Latino community. We all have this problem. So getting the diversity is not just about faces and opportunities afterwards. It affects the policies and the legislation that we see coming through Congress.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the definition of the Old Boys Network.
Right.
It's
It
exactly
really is.
that. And so
No. The Old White Boys.
Old White Boys
I'm gonna
Network.
call it what it is.
Okay. All right. No, that's right.
Because ain't no Latino or black or Asian boys,
Right.
and damn sure not girls in that group. It's the Old White Boys.
No,
Network.
that is very true. And Democrats, I think, need to decide whether they're going to learn the lesson of this midterm election. Who turned out was, in record numbers, was minorities. To your point, black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party. We're looking, I've been traveling all over the country during the midterms. People are looking for something fresh, something new, something that represents who we are as a party. And Democrats have about 2 years to get it right before the next election. And let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Right.
So
Get it right now.
So let me be real clear.
Yeah.
Let me be real clear.
January.
Okay, let me be real clear what I'm about to say.
out.
And that is this here, because I made this clear when we were on TV1's News One Now, and I'm making this clear right now. To Democrats, there's a bullseye on your back. I'm being real clear, and I need y'all to hear me. I need y'all to listen to me and watch me what I'm saying. You are going to be targeted, because what I will not do, and let me be clear, I have never self-identified as a Republican. I've never self-identified as a Democrat, and I never will. I vote for who I want to vote for based upon issues. But when it comes to this issue, black people will not be political sharecroppers. What you are not going to do is to continue to ask black folks to till the soil, to work the land, and don't reap the economic benefits. The reality is this: we can go throughout this nation, and when it comes to the folks who are voting, you're talking about black men, you're talking about black women. When it comes to when y'all get your asses in trouble, y'all want to run the black folks to save you every single time. I believe in a return on investment. I believe that when you invest something, you get something back. Now, have black folks gotten things before? Yes. But let me use the phrase from Malcolm X. Y'all remember the scene in the movie when they went to go save Brother Johnson, and they said, call the ambulance. Then the ambulance came, and the white cop told Malcolm X, you got what you came for, now you can go home. He said, no, I'm not satisfied. Then he said, on to the hospital. And the Fruit of Islam marched to the hospital. See, I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied that the CBC has the largest caucus on the Democratic side. I'm not satisfied that there are a few jobs. I'm not satisfied with a few chief of staff positions. Here's what I know. There's only one African American who was leading one major campaign. All these people who were running these statewide races. It was just one. I know for a fact that you got black people out there who can be campaign managers.
Absolutely.
Black people who can be top strategists. Black folks who can be, and I don't mean talking just to black people. I'm talking about black folks who can run the whole thing. I'm talking about black folks who can be chief fundraisers.
Yes.
Black folks who can be posters. Black folks who can be any of these positions. And see, we ain't even gotten to the issue of who's controlling the money and then where it's going. What is going to black shows like this? What is going to black radio and going to black television and black newspapers and black magazines? And see, I'm talking about DNC, Tom Perez. I'm talking about the DSCC. I'm talking about the DCCC. I'm talking about the Democratic Governors Association. Well, I'm going to go a little further. I'm talking to y'all, Emily's List. I'm talking about all you environmental groups, all you progressive groups, all y'all, all of you PACs. Let me tell y'all right now, every single one of you are going to get invited to this show. Every single one of you are going to have to explain to me, what's your black plan? I want to know how many black vendors you got. I want to know how many black caterers you got. I want to know how many black folks are handling audio and visual. I want to know how many black folks are handling travel. See, this ain't just about giving me a couple of faces. I want to know Are you actually putting your money where your mouth is, or are you simply trying to treat us like political sharecroppers? And guess what? Those of you who decline to come on, not only am I going to say it publicly, we're going to put it on social media, and we're going to go after you for every single day. See, I'm not waiting for 2020 to ask these questions. I'm asking these questions right now. So here's what I suggest y'all do. I suggest right now, y'all go find some black people who can do radio and television commercials. I suggest y'all go find some black vendors. I suggest y'all go find some black people who have been working in the fields, who have been out here working hard, trying to build their resumes up. And I suggest you hire them. Because see, here's the deal. I don't owe none of y'all. I ain't trying to get a job with y'all. But what I'm damn sure gonna do is make sure you get questioned and you got to present the information when it comes to Minority Supply Development Council. And say that's overall. But say, I'm not here to discuss Minority Supply Development Council. I'm here about black people. No disrespect to anybody else who's Latino, who's Asian, who's Native American. But Roland's here to ask about black people. Now, I ask about everybody else after I get the black answer. But y'all gonna have to explain where you are spending your dollars. And I would suggest call your black friends right now. Because when I put you on Front Street, or let me correct that, I'm going to put you on MLK Street, and then we're going to have an issue. Let's go to a break right now. I'll be back and Roland Martin Unfiltered in just a moment.
Never, never let a person know you're frightened. Novelist and poet Maya Angelou.
All right, folks, HBCU Giving Day, hashtag HBCU Giving Day. To the school today is Bennett College in Greensboro, North Carolina, founded in 1873, later reorganized in 1926 as an all-female institution. Of course, their president emeritus, Dr. Julianne Malveaux, also famous graduates includes the first African-American district attorney in the state of North Carolina, Belinda J. Foster, and the first African-American mayor of Greensboro, North Carolina, Yvonne Johnson. If you want to support, that also is one of two all-black female schools in the country. The other, of course, is Spelman College in Atlanta. If you want to support Bennett, be sure to go to www.bennett, that's 2 N's, 2 T's, .edu, bennett.edu. And so we certainly want you to support them. And if you are a graduate of Bennett, yes, cut a check. Don't just talk about how you're proud to be a Bennett graduate if you're not giving back. Understand? Cut the damn check, or PayPal, or Square, or Apple Pay. I don't care what it is. All right? Don't matter what it is, send your money to position the next generation of sisters to get an education. All right, folks, time to hear from one of our partners. You've heard me talk about our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate, who've created a unique investment opportunity that combines legal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, let this sit in for a second and think about the growing momentum around legal marijuana in this country. It's been all over numerous ballots. Of course, we know it's legal in a number of different states, and now, of course, you can be an investor, and there's never been a better opportunity to get in the game. Now, as markets grow, it's harder and harder to get in, which means that you might have to spend millions or billions just to do so. Well, this issue right here, though, makes it special. This unique opportunity. Transatlantic Real Estate, folks, what they're going to do for you is, what they're going to offer is a business model that's very easy to understand. They buy land that supports marijuana grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. So, let me say it again. You're investing in the landlord of a licensed marijuana farm, and the best part is they're using crowdfunding to make it easier for the average person to get in before they take the company public. So you can invest as little as $300 up to $10,000. Now listen, you must complete and confirm your application to participate in this opportunity. This essentially says don't just fill out half the ballot, you got to fill the whole thing out. And again, a lot of people have missed out because they rushed and didn't complete the process. So simply go to marijuanastock.org. If you want to invest, go to marijuanastock.org. You certainly want to get in the game and do it right now. All right, folks, yesterday we told you about Jamel Robinson, the security guard who was shot and killed by police while doing his job. Here's some of those various details. This took place in Robbins, Illinois on 4 a.m. Sunday morning when he asked a group of drunk patrons to leave the bar. Now, they returned and one had a gun and then opened fire. Well, security there returned fire and they held down the suspect by putting a knee in the suspect's back. Now, when the cops showed up, the witnesses said everybody was screaming that was security holding the guy down. Okay, visualize this. The black guy was kneeling on the white guy. Jamel Robinson was wearing his uniform. On his cap said security. Some cops then shouted, "He's one of us." But it didn't stop him from being shot and killed. The cop who killed him was white and has been placed on administrative leave. Now we know that Jamel Robinson is the father of a 9-month-old son. His family has filed a $1 million wrongful death suit against the officer in the town of Midlothian where he worked. We'll certainly keep you posted on these details. All right, folks. Now, I keep telling y'all about these crazy-ass white women in America. I'm talking about what's up with these white women who keep calling the damn cops on black people. This, y'all, is even just beyond stupid. Okay? This white woman is a professor at the University of Texas, San Antonio. Okay? So I'm on Twitter today, and I see this Twitter feed with this video. Okay? And the student says, "Y'all cannot believe what happened in my class." Press play. Okay, I got it, guys. Do you have the sound? Okay, well, that was sound on the one I saw online. Well, anyway, what you have here is you have the students in the classroom who, of course, they were watching this play out. And so this professor, okay, she calls the cops. She says that the sister was disrespected because she had her feet up on another chair. Y'all, her feet were propped up. Now, this professor has often complained in class that her students are too uncivil in how they behave. Okay, let me explain to you again. Her feet were propped up. I was a 4-year student at Texas A&M. I can recall putting my damn feet on a desk, a chair in front of me. Now, the other students say the sister wasn't disruptive. She wasn't yelling. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't doing anything. She was listening to the lecture. But this professor called the cops. They came out and escorted her out. University has released this statement. Okay, first of all, here's a tweet from the student who was removed from the classroom. This is me in Anita Moss's 2053 bio classroom. Upon entering class, I was told I needed to leave or would be escorted out by officers. I never disobeyed the student code of conduct, not once. A police report is being filed, ATM. This is just the beginning. Thanks for your support. Now, here's what the president of the university said in a statement sent out to the entire university. Dear Roadrunners, today we had an incident where one of our African-American students was escorted from a biology class by members of the UTSA's police department at the request of a faculty member. While the facts aren't fully known regarding today's incident, our Office of Equal Opportunity Services is already conducting an investigation into possible discrimination. In addition, an inquiry regarding the academic management of the classroom is being conducted by Interim Dean of the College of Sciences, Howard Grimes. Now, okay, so that was a letter that came from the university president. And guys, I'm going to give him his name in 1 second because, again, I want to have all these details. And so it's interesting that when you look at this and you look at, again, this idea of continuing to call the cops in a college classroom.
White women better come and get their other sisters because they're acting up and they need help and they got to do it. I mean, white women need to take some responsibility over other white women and this misbehavior. I mean, we can't be everywhere where they're having these gratuitous conversations about how scared they are. And you saw about this white woman who ran into the tree. She looked up and saw a black woman and got so scared she ran into a tree. No. I mean, this is what's happening in this society.
Yeah,
right
I mean,
now.
Maybe
They stop this.
when you call the police and you're filing a false police report, you're arrested for filing a false report, right?
Right.
So maybe if the police start arresting the people that are calling and these crazy calls,
Right.
Right.
then maybe
I need the cops.
stop calling the cops on these simple
I need the
things.
cops to start cussing these white women out.
But no, if they start arresting these women for these calls, the calls would stop.
Well, it's a waste of resources
would
too.
stop.
So what are the cops doing if they're at the university arresting a person with their feet on the desk?
And I think it was 3 or 4 cops that came
It's
in the
absurd. Like you're moving resources. They should be held accountable for these false things. The other quick question I have is just where in America are black people safe? So you have black people are getting shot on the streets, in their homes. This guy was, in his home watching TV. This is a good guy with a gun, got shot all over. And now it's the same thing that's contributing to this type of stuff too, where people are getting called. It's a way to control. It's straight up racism, and it's unacceptable.
And I think it's crazy. Again, remember you have a student at Yale. Remember the black girl was sleeping, then they called the
Never
cops.
forget
And I was like, okay, who the hell goes to a university library with a backpack to go to sleep? And I wasn't sure she was a student. I mean, literally, what you have is, and yeah, that was a white woman. And what you have here is you have these white women who, for some reason, have this superior attitude of, I'm going to call the cops on any of y'all for whatever y'all doing. And I'm telling you right now, that professor has no business in the classroom.
Right.
Now, if you're a professor, if you say, if you're a professor and you say, you know what, y'all a bunch of slouches and stuff along those lines, I need you sitting up in my classroom. I don't want feet on desks in a classroom. That's me laying down the rules of my classroom. You don't call the cops on somebody. Hold up, you do what you do as a professor. If you're sitting here the rules, everybody got a copy of the rules. If you get busted, I'm docking you 5 points. Okay, that's what you do. You don't call the cops.
Well, it's just modern day slavery, because when we're in white spaces in their mind, they want our pass. They want to know why you here. What is this your place? You belong here. You don't belong here. We're just going to call cops. And then on the other hand, it's this quote insubordination. Listen, I went to Duke Law School. We had large sections like what we just saw. There was a guy who would bring a big old inflated doll as kind of like his contempt for the process, would sit up next to him in class, and when the professor said anything he thought was stupid, he would make the doll roll back and forth. And nobody disciplined him. He did it every day he wanted to do it. So come on, he was white, of course. And so this is just nonsense, and we need to just call it out, because this is that white ethnic racism that says you don't belong in our white country, and we don't want you here, and we're going to do everything we can to make you uncomfortable, and hopefully you'll leave.
And see, the issue that you also have here is this here. If the student had done anything, first of all, her reaction, and this really is the greater problem. The onus is on us as black people to say nothing, do nothing. So this is how we have to be. Okay, I'm not going to react. Now, you can't convince me if a white professor calls a cop on a white student, especially a white boy, and he ain't going to act a fool.
Hell no.
Because the reality is, she said she couldn't do anything because I might die in a chokehold. Hell, I might get tased.
That's right.
I might get shot.
That's right.
Because of something simple as her feet were propped up on a desk.
I mean, that's the definition of entitlement. Look at how Brett Kavanaugh reacted in his Supreme Court hearing. It was completely out of left field and just crazy. If we as people of color do anything even close to that, we're immediately expelled, we're immediately called out, we're immediately called angry black whatever. And, there is this double standard that needs to change, because it is playing out on all different levels. Not only in the classrooms, not only on the streets, but at the voting booth as well.
Oh, please.
So I want to read I want to read the rest of the letter from the university president, Taylor Agnew. This is what he said. This concerns me greatly, and it's incumbent upon us as an institution to face this head on. It's something that we need to address immediately as a university community. I look forward to the arrival of Dr. Myron Anderson, our new Vice President for Inclusive Excellence, to assist us with developing a strategy to address these systemic issues. I welcome your concerns being shared directly with me in my office by emailing. He has his email. I promise to begin this process immediately. It will take time, but it has my full commitment. Now, first, wise of a university president to immediately address this issue, going to the entire university. But this is something that, and I get it, okay, you're having a vice president for inclusive excellence coming in, but this is why I need white people to check other white people.
There you go.
Okay? Right. You don't need somebody black or Latino or Asian to be hired to teach y'all how not to be dumbasses. You don't need that, okay? So you can actually teach your own fellow white people not to act a damn fool. But this really is the deal, though. It is as if part of our job is like, okay, white America, let me explain to y'all why y'all stupid. And again, there's no way in the world to me that class continue with her as professor.
That's right. She needs to be fired. Yeah. And listen, certain people just don't belong in the jobs they're in. They need to be out. They need to be gone. They just need to be held accountable. And these schools can't be talking about, well, we all going to get together, kumbaya, diversity, inclusiveness. No! Some folks are just so racist, they don't deserve to be empowered to even instruct.
That's the problem in how this has been addressed in the past. It's always relegated to the diversity council. Let's set up a task force. Let's do some training, and it'll all go away. That is not how to address this. It has to go all the way up to the dean. People need to be fired and held accountable. And that's there. We were talking earlier about hiring. You don't hire people just to do black things or brown things. It is a systemic thing as a way to pacify us when these things erupt. We need to hold people accountable as a community. But to your point, Roland, white people also need to hold themselves accountable if they actually do care about this stuff.
Time for her to go? Stay or go?
Oh, I don't know. You called my name. I was like,
hello. You're one of 3 panelists on the show. Can you stay with us?
Yes, I was here. I was listening
Lord
to his
have
response. No. No, I think that she should be held accountable. I think that it was her reaction to that was absolutely insane. Everyone in that classroom had a phone. Now that they can take pictures and videotape things like that, and that probably would have been a really good idea, because that's probably something that I probably would have done, because I keep my phone with me all the time. But it was idiotic. There was no reason for her to do that. And again, she does need to be held accountable for it.
And where was the solidarity? Why didn't they?
No, that's not true. It did happen. So here's what happened.
You mean there were other students that
go to my iPad,
okay,
Henry.
Good.
She tweeted, the young lady, she tweeted, I seriously can't thank my class enough for this love. They literally stood up for me after I was escorted out by 3 officers and called her out for being disruptive to them, as well as this whole semester. Completely overwhelmed and thankful. So, all right, so we'll surely let you know what happens there but I'm UTSA. And first of all, I did reach out directly to University of Texas San Antonio for them to come on the show. They sent us that particular statement. And also I reached out to the student as well. And so we tried to get her on as well. And so we'll certainly let y'all know what happens with that story. All right, remember this story here? He was the retired Michigan firefighter, Jeffrey Ziegler. And roll the video, please. Remember the 14-year-old black kid, Brennan Walker, missed his school bus and he was lost. He was trying to get directions to his school. So Brennan went to the door and then he heard a woman come down the stairs shouting, and then that's when Brennan backed up. You'll see it in a second, and then he took off running. Well, Ziegler comes busting out of the door in just a moment, and thinking this is somehow a burglar, fires his gun. Now, so you saw him fire that shot. Now here's what happened. When the cops came, Ziegler said, roll the video back, please. Ziegler said, okay, here's what happened. He said, what happened was I came out of my house and I tripped, and then my gun went off. Well, the cops did not believe that, especially after they saw the video. Well, he was convicted yesterday. He was sentenced to upwards of 10 years in prison. Now, of course, the issue there were several different charges he was hit with. And, of course, he apologized to the mother. The mother of the young man says that he is being in counseling. She said it's something, so he will be forever impacted his entire life of what took place. The young man testified that, of course, he took off running, and then when that gunshot was fired, he said he ran even faster away. Luckily, this young man wasn't hurt. But again, the guy tried to lie to say, and then the woman who was in the house, she also tried to lie, saying that, oh, the house was being broken into, when he literally, and we see the video, he literally pressed the doorbell, then knocked on the door, and was trying to get directions to where the school was. This is a 14-year-old black kid who could have been shot and killed. And here's the other piece. If we did not have that video, that would have been a situation of him saying he was trying to break in. And one doesn't know he would be convicted if it wasn't for that video.
And that's the importance of video. And, you know, we always said if you could see it from our shoes, our eyes, if you stood in our places. Well, video is doing that now. It's documenting, it's giving us the ability to force people to tell the truth and to show what's really happening out here in the society. And the picture is not pretty, it's so ugly. But this is, I'm so grateful that this young man was not shot.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, again, all right, folks. So, of course, we'll give you an update in the both of Jean case. Remember, he was a young man in Dallas who was shot and killed in his own apartment by Amber Geiger, a member of the Dallas Police Department. Well, I was down in Dallas moderating a forum, and where you had the DA there, Faith Johnson, who said she was going to take this to the grand jury, present the evidence to them, and the grand jury could, of course, then decide whether to charge her with murder. Now, Geiger, when she was arrested, was charged by the cops with manslaughter. But there was an election, and John Cruzo, a former longtime judge there in Dallas, he says that what he sees is that she should be charged with murder. Now, Faith Johnson was appointed DA after the previous DA resigned due to issues of depression. Well, last week, of course, Faith Johnson, she lost by about 20 points, and as Democrats swept positions all across Dallas County, same thing in Harris County as well. Now, again, Cruzo believes that she should be charged with murder. That does not mean that Geiger will be charged with murder. It still must go to the grand jury. The grand jury can make their own determination. But you have, again, whereas Faith Johnson said she would leave it up to the grand jury to make the decision, Cruzo says he believes, based upon what he sees, that it should be a murder charge. Last story here, of course, some students in, this school in Wisconsin, talk about white folks losing their damn mind. So there's a picture, and I'm going to pull up in a second, y'all. There's a picture of a group of white high school students in Baraboo High School, 60 miles north of Madison, giving a Nazi salute on the steps of a county courthouse. It went viral over the weekend. It was taken last spring. The photographer says he asked them to wave to their parents and defended the picture. One student who was there and did not raise his hand said the girls have a similar group picture and they were not asked to wave. Now, it has been condemned by Jewish groups and their school, and investigation by the school and law enforcement has started. Y'all, really?
And you wonder how you get Pittsburgh. I mean, think about it. Where did Broward come from? I mean, this is the only beautiful thing.
Henry, go to my iPad. This is the photo here, right here, folks. This is the photo. And so you see them. You see them.
Unbelievable.
Okay. Now, you see this guy in the middle? That ain't waving at your mom and daddy. Okay. You see some person with a fist sign as well. But again, they thought it was cute. What I also don't see, the only black in this photo are the suits they wearing. Again, and so Didi, this has ticked a lot of people off, and now the school is like, oh hell, what are we gonna do about this here?
Well, the parents of the students, they need to teach them some home training and understand that that type of symbol is not something that you do.
Yeah, just saying, Nazi symbol, America, don't kind of go well with the flag.
Absolutely not. They don't go together at all.
Well, this is an example being set from the top by President Trump. You know, he was talking about nationalism the other day. You know, those are echoes of what was going on during the Holocaust. Those types of things are setting the example for these young high school kids. These kids were wrong in what they did. They have to understand their history and the context of what they were doing, but they absolutely knew what they were doing. And you juxtapose that picture with the young woman in Texas with their feet on the thing. Who should you be calling the cops? Where is the intervention actually needed? It's definitely not with the woman with her feet on it.
And notice there's one white guy to the far right of the picture who's not smiling, not saluting, and he said that he didn't do it because he knew it was wrong.
You mean this guy right at the top?
No, he's talking about the. Oh, I thought you were talking about the guy in the
Right there.
front.
Yeah.
And there's also a guy at the front on the very
And
bottom.
he spoke out
That
that
guy.
it was not funny, that he knew it was bad, that they all knew it was bad, and they did it anyway. So it's very important for us to understand this is not, quote, some confused kids. They meant to do this anti-Semitic, hateful gesture.
There you go. Well, only a couple of people in here again. Only one isn't smiling, but you have a couple of people who are trying to figure out like what they're doing. But now they're gonna have to answer for that. All right, folks. This is what you have in 2018 in America. I thought we were so post-racial. Oh, my goodness. All right, folks, always support Roland Martin Unfiltered by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, joining our Bring the Funk fan club. You can also, of course, be sure to watch our re-airs. We restream the show multiple times over the day, so be sure to, whether you're on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube, click your notifications so you will get an alert when we are live, not just with this show, but also when we're covering live events and also streaming speeches and things along those lines. Please also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget, folks, to make a programming note, put it down on Friday, the second great debate. I previously, of course, debated Jason Whitlock. It wasn't much of a debate. But you want to see Friday's show, because guess who's going to be here? Dinesh D'Souza, that's right. And so he and I had a conversation, and trust me, it's one that you want to see. Other people run from it. No, Dinesh had to answer some of my questions, and you know it was good. I can't wait for y'all to see it. That's going to be Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. And also, before I go, let me pull this here up. And so I want y'all to, yesterday was my nephew Christopher's, it was his 11th birthday. He was born on that day. And of course, today is the birthday of, I'm trying to find the photo, the birthday of his father, my brother Reginald. He turns 51 today. Jesus, why can't I find the photo? And then, yeah, I posted on Instagram. I want y'all to see this photo. I'm thinking I'll pull it up this way. And then, of course, on tomorrow is my 50th birthday. And so all of us are Valentine's Day babies. Some of y'all gonna get that in a second. But all of us, of course, were born, yes, Valentine's. And so this is a photo of me and my brother when we were younger. And of course, that's him. That's him on the right. Of course, I still look better than him even when we were kids. And so that was wearing the bow tie there, but now that's a little different because, you know, I rock the ascots. And so shout out to my brother Reginald, who turned 51 today. His son Christopher, my nephew, turned 11 yesterday. And then my 50th birthday is tomorrow. And so look forward to that. All right, folks, y'all have a great day. Thanks a bunch to my panel, Barbara, Dee Dee, and Nick. But Dee Dee, I'm glad you realized you're here. I don't know what she spaced out. Lord have mercy. I mean, that's right. That's right. And your sister's like, she done messed up the Bass family again. What is she doing? All your relatives, right? Like,
I represent the Bass Wilbon family extremely well. Thank you very much, Mark.
Except when you fell asleep right here. You kind of like, I mean, you like, oh,
You know what?
I forgot on the show. That's right.
Happy
It is live.
birthday, Mark.
Look at just, she like, I can't believe she got us again. And it was a struggle last time because I'm still waiting on that information. Yeah. You thought I forgot?
Oh, no, I knew you didn't forget.
You thought I forgot?
Oh, I knew you didn't forget.
What is it, voter fraud?
No, it was not voter fraud.
What was it?
We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
You gotta go.
It was a Republican. Now we gotta go. Oh, now you're the co-host. Oh, okay, all right.
I would love to be your co-host.
Oh, yeah, but you gotta be awake. Come on. Oh, you gotta be present.
Stop rolling.
All right, y'all. Again, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. Be sure to support the show. I will see y'all guys later. Holla!